So hello guys, it is Friday, so it's time for another DAX Fridays, a new DAX function every Friday. And in today's DAX Fridays, we're going to talk about DAX experiences. Did I ever told you that I quit DAX 4 times before I pick it up for good? It was actually Power Query that lured me in the DAX world. So that was, I don't know, a few years ago. I was working with a big model, and the only way to get data into Excel back then it was through this Power Pivot thing. And yeah, I tried a few times, hated it because I couldn't do anything. Everything was so confusing. And then after Power Query came, I just became more and more involved in all these tools and started using the DAX a little bit more serious and giving it a little bit of effort anyhow. So the first time I worked with DAX, or the first times it was doing it in Excel, I was actually doing everything in calculated columns because I wanted to do row by row calculations, or I thought that I wanted to do them coming from the Excel world. That's what I knew how to do. And there was no rule that if you make calculated columns your model will die. But because I had a big model, it was 4 million rows. Eventually, with 100 calculated columns, my model did die. I probably buried, I don't know, give or take 4, 5, 6 models, dead, buried, gone. And it took me that to realize that calculated columns was perhaps not a good thing to do, and I started to get in a little bit more into creative measures. But creative measures comes with a cost, with understanding row context, filter context, and all that stuff. So it was actually hard, very, very hard. So it's something else that I was doing that it was perhaps not very good. It was when creating my DAX measures or calculated columns, and this is something that you can see in the beginning of the DAX Fridays videos. I was creating what I call now one-liners. So I would create a DAX measure in one line. And it was actually you guys that told me, Ruth, there's this thing called DAX formatter. I knew that it was there, but I come from the business world. Code formatting for me was just like a fancy thing to do. You realize later that it's not. It's a way to read the code a bit easier. So I was too lazy to go into DAX formatter and go in there, paste it, go back. So I just didn't do it until I read a blog post from Chris Webb where he said that you can shift enter and it would create a line. And okay, why nobody told me that before? So yeah, that's what I did basically. And after that I've been formatting my own way for sure, but I've been formatting my DAX measures a little bit more so they are more readable, even for myself when I take a look at them a bit later. So one-liners was a thing for me for sure. So the next thing I did that probably was not very good, it was to have this big one flat file where because I didn't know what modeling was, I didn't have any time for understanding what modeling was. I would put all my calculated columns. I will do this related, and the lookup function were my favorite functions. I don't use them anymore, like very, very rarely. But back then it was my go-to just to put the tables together. And I end up with a huge table that had everything in there. It was very easy to query then, but it was very, very slow. Again, a dead model. I have dead bodies everywhere in my BI career. But I didn't know how to do it better, and it's not that easy. Once you get into modeling, it's a bit intuitive, so that's fine, but when it's your intention is to get the answers out of your data and not have a perfect model, yeah, flat files did the work for me for sure.